Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 3 in the Data Mining for Business course, CSCI E96 in the fall 2019. Our professor is Professor K and our TF is J. We are here in front of you today to present our exploratory data analytics on OkCupid data. When we were given this case, we are, as you know, part of the business intelligence group. We were asked to perform exploratory data analysis on site users of okcupid.com. And the objective of this exercise is to discover insights for future campaigns that we're going to present to you later in the presentation today. I'm going to hand it over to my partner, Justin.
Thank you. So we were able to look at the data that was provided in the additional resources through the course, and we were able to look at the OkCupid, and then as you'll see in our analysis and cleaning, we added together the other 3 sources of data as well into the OkCupid to make it more of a complete data set. And the 3 main steps that we took during this process was cleaning the data, as Satjit will talk about, and analysis of the data, as Giacomo will talk about, and then we came together to produce our 4 main insights that we hope will help the marketing team.
So hi, this is Sajid. For cleaning the data, first we needed to explore all the NA values. We plotted using plot missing, and we removed some of the NA values along with it. Some data had to be joined together so as to bring fruitful outcome for it. We used box plots for removing outliers, and then mean imputation was used to impute mean value for the income. And then we subset the data for only the useful variables. I'm going to hand it over to Giacomo now.
Thanks, Sajid. So then after having subsetting the data, then we have proceeded with the analysis. We have used some of the functionalities that we can find in R. So basically we have structured our data with some tables, and then we have used some of the main plot or graph functionalities in order to have some better visuals on the data and to get some useful insights from those. We can proceed to the first insights that we are getting. So what we have done is to sample the data set and analyze the level of activity of the users. In order to do that, we have used the data we found on the last online, basically on the last time users were online, and we have divided our users into 3 groups: the active users, the ones active in the last 3 days, the lazy users active between 4 and 14 days ago, and the inactive users, so the ones that are inactive for more than 14 days. What we can see from the graphs is that we have a big proportion actually of the inactive users and lazy ones, and that actually they're evenly spread among males and females. So the conclusions we can get from those, just going to the next slide, the conclusions we can get is actually we need to find a way to increase the activity of the users on the website. In order to do that, we should target more users, the users that are more likely to be active. And thus the next step after this should be to build a model to predict the likelihood of new users based on the likelihood of new users to be active based on their characteristics. So what we're going to do after is understand what could be what insights we can get from the other characteristics.
All right.
I hand it over to my colleague.
Thank you. Yeah, from Giacomo's prediction model that he has set up, we can see that a success variable would be active users. So we were thinking that if you wanted to look at the LGBT community in particular and to find users that were already active and where a large proportion of the data was sitting at, we saw that targeting bisexual females and gay males in the LGBT community would be beneficial. Next slide. From here, we can see that conclusion was drawn because bisexual females tend to identify a lot larger as a proportion compared to male bisexuals. And then the flip side, gay males identify more readily as gay than females do for the LGBT community.
Thank you, Justin. And now I will be delivering the third insight from our exploratory data analysis. So what I found was there is a higher chance of being married or being in a relationship for site users who identify themselves as bisexual or gay compared to those who identify themselves as straight. Supporting data that I'll be presenting in the next slide hopefully will be able to give you a better picture of it. And before we jump on there, just wanted to give a little bit of a background. The reason why I chose this insight for this slide is when I think about OkCupid as a business and as a platform, the goal is to connect people and to be in a relationship because they're looking for a partner in their life. So I think this particular insight is important and useful to be considered. So here we have a table, 2x2 table. In making this table, I took a subset of 2 different categories. The column header represents the orientation, and the header on the left side represents the status, someone's status, and it has been grouped into 2 different categories. So on the x-axis, I'm referring to the top now, I've categorized bisexual and gay under one group, comparing that group to site users who identify themselves as being straight. On the other hand, the status has been broken down into single available because I think they are the same kind of category, comparing that category to someone who fill out the survey as, you know, they're seeing someone or married. As you can see, there are a lot more numbers in the single and available category in both bisexual, gay, and straight. There's also less number of someone seeing somebody or married in both bisexual and gay community and in the straight community. However, the ratio is the important thing here. So for those site users who identify themselves as bisexual or gay, the data says that 1 in every 12 of site users are actually seeing someone or married or we're just in a relationship, whereas only 1 out of 33 people who identified themselves as straight are currently seeing someone. With this, there's a lot more people who are seeing someone or married if they're in the bisexual and gay category. To make this into a more in-depth analysis, I think it's important to look at maybe in the future at a longitudinal study and comparing this data year by year, because as a marketing team figures out kind of their strategy to market, it is important for them to look at the trend, whether or not the site's users who identify themselves as bisexual and gay are increasing per year or not. So I hope that explanation makes sense, and I will hand it over to my colleague Sajid, who will be delivering the 4th and final insight. Sajid, go ahead.
Thanks, Dia, for a wonderful insight. Dia, if you could take me to the presentation of my plot, the GG plot. So yeah, so basically this plot is plotted using a variable in the x-axis known as new profiles $x. For me, new profiles was the updated, cleaned version from my NA values. And on the y-axis, it was income, how the income was distributed. Now, what I have done is there are different colors that are being used for the representation of male and female in the society. Now, if you actually dig deeper into the plot, we can see that there are more number of men who are earning somewhere around 1,000,000. So from my language, it's 10 lakh. It's 1 million according to USA. So 1 million is being earned mostly by men in comparison to women. So that actually shows a huge imbalance in our society, and OkCupid data is actually a testament to that. If we take a deeper look in the bottom of the GG plot, we can see that mostly all the users, like technically all the users, they belong to a lower income group. Now, once we spot this, it becomes actually clear that our target audience is young and they belong to a lower income group. Dia, if you could take me down to the previous slide. The previous slide.
Sorry.
Thank you. No issues. So now, if our target audience is young and poor is say not poor but belong to lower income group, that was a one. So what we need to do is we need to perform below the line activities. Now, below the line activities for publicity could be pamphlet distribution. It could be cinema branding. It could be, say, one-to-one counseling. If it could be hiring students, ambassadors to do some kind of publicity for us. It could be done in theaters, stadiums, a lot of many places where we can gather young crowd. Now, this is one of the analogies which have come so far. Second analogy, which would be, is to run a Google AdWords campaign. Now, OkCupid is an online platform. For an online platform, obviously, most of the audience have to come from a background who's coming online every now and then. Now, in Google AdWords, we can use the demographics because we have compared everything. Like we have compared all the statistics based on sex, sexual orientation, income, status, sexual orientation. Ultimately, we have to use all this data. What we could do also is, like, after this exploratory analysis, when we are actually going to make a model out of it, we can see the words that are being used by men and women. And now those words could be used as keywords for Google AdWord campaign. Now, obviously, everything is just a theory before we make a model. So in future, we have to try to make a model out of it. We can run a Facebook lead campaign as well, and specifically target, say, San Francisco, which had somewhere around 30,000 users, Oakland, Berkeley, all these different places could be targeted with a better budget, right? And if, in case we have more budget, then we can try entire USA. But if we have to run a campaign based on demography, I think that's the thing that we could go ahead with. And obviously, this is a dating website, and the data suggests that we should actually target people who are in the age from 23 to 35. So our basic money should be spent on that, because ultimately it's like cost per lead that we are going to get, and cost per lead means that we are going to spend thousands of dollars on leads generation, and they need to actually convert into revenue for all of us. I think this is a pretty open-ended argument, I would say, at this point of time. We definitely need to dig in more to understand what kind of model could be used in future. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.